Why can't you be happy that you moving into pre-elderhood?
What's up, divas? Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I would like to discuss this concept that we call aging gracefully. I want to explore why women have such a hard time embracing the aging process. What does aging gracefully really even mean? And how do we even go about aging gracefully? So this leads me to first address why women, and since I'm a woman, I'm going to speak for myself, why women have such a difficult time accepting the aging process. And if you have been around people, you've gone in grocery stores and looked at magazines, listened to the radio, if you've listened to television, if you've watched movies, if you've listened to anybody, you realize that for the most part, society values youth. And I'm going to go a little bit further to not just say society, I'm also going to say men in particular. Sorry, men, but it's true. I think that men have had a huge hand in shaping how society views age and how society views women aging. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I know I was under the age of 25. I was in my early 20s, very young at the time. I remember being out at a party and I was talking to this gentleman. I don't know how old he was. I'm sure he was way older than I was at the time. I'm gonna go so far as to say he could have been in his 30s, 40s, somewhere around there. I don't know. I never really asked him his age, but we got into a conversation. I don't remember specifically what the conversation was because it's been so long, but there's one thing that I took away from that conversation that never left my brain up until today. And what he said to me was, women are considered old at the age of 25. Now, you can say, okay, well, that's just an isolated case. It's just him. Not everybody thinks this way. And I do agree, not every single person thinks this way. Nothing's 100%. But for the most part, I do believe that there are many men and people in general who probably look at women as, okay, well, you're kind of old now that you're 25 years old. I remember my mother telling me that if a woman did not get married by the time she was 25 years old, she was considered an old maid. You may not think about it at the moment, but these are the things that get into a person's head and makes them look at age the way that they do. I remember watching a video of Dr. Umar talking about Jada Pinkett Smith, and he brought up age in particular. In fact, let's listen to a little bit of what Dr. Umar had to say about women and aging.
Somebody told me the reason we have so many black female celebrities getting surgery. Somebody told me why we got so many black women, period. Working class, middle class, upper class, bougie class, celebrity class. I was told the reason why so many black women are getting surgery is because the 40-something-year-olds feel the need to keep up with the 30-something and the 20-something-year-olds. Ladies, is that true?
I'm inclined to tell you no. I'm not going to go so far as to say that every woman who gets a surgery isn't trying to keep up with a 20 or a 30-year-old. But in all honesty, I don't believe that women are really getting surgeries because they want to keep up with the 20 and 30-year-olds. Women are getting these surgeries because they see something on their bodies that they want to improve on, and they feel that going to have a surgery is going to enhance their appearance. If you're standing in the mirror and looking at your nose, and maybe you feel that your nose is a little too fat or it's got a ball at the end or whatever the case is, you're going to be inclined to get a nose job. If you feel that your boobs are a little too small and you think that larger breasts are more attractive, then you're going to be more inclined to run out and get yourself breast implants. It's been a trend to have a huge butt. A lot of that has come from the rap community. Now things have changed and it's acceptable to have a large butt. Everybody wants these butts. Women are not sitting there saying, oh, I see a 20-year-old, I want to compete with her, so let me go to have surgery so that I can look like a 20 or a 30-year-old. Of course, we want to look young, but it's not to compete with a 20 or a 30-year-old.
This is what I want to say to my African queens in your 40s. To my African queens in your 40s. Listen, you will never be able to compete physically with a 27-year-old. You can't. You understand me? Even with an artificial body, you can't.
Okay, so my first question is going to be, competing for what? What are women over the age of 40 trying to compete for with a 27-year-old? That's my first question. Are we trying to compete to see who can look the best? If you put an older woman next to a younger woman, to tell you the truth, sometimes these older women are looking way better than some of these younger women. Now, if you say that the older woman is trying to compete with the younger woman for a man's attention, okay, now we do have the Jadas of the world, and we have other women who are older, who are finding younger men. You would think that these younger men would be with these younger women, and they're getting them. I don't know. I'm inclined to say that you might not necessarily be correct there. These older women have found younger men who have money, and they have gotten pregnant. So your theory about, okay, well, these older women can't compete with the younger women, I don't buy that. I don't even think it's a matter of a woman trying to compete with their younger counterparts.
Now, here's what I want to understand with my 40 and 50-year-old queens. Why are you trying to compete? I have no desire to compete with my 20-year-old brothers. I have no desire to compete with my 27-year-old brothers. I have no desire to compete with my 30-year-old brothers. I have no desire to compete with my I have no desire. I love who I am. I love my age. I'm glad I'm still on this planet to fight for African liberation. Black women, you got to change your thinking.
So let me tell you why men have no desire to compete with their younger counterparts. You don't hear women talking about men's age and devaluing them because of their age. Women are not sitting around pointing out issues with men's age. Women are not sending out messages to a specific age group that they're not valued, they're not attractive, they're not valued, and when they get to a certain age, they are worthless. Dr. Umar says, I love my age, I love who I am, I'm happy to be on this planet. Great. Let me tell you why you feel that way. How many women do you hear having an issue with you having gray hair and you having to hide it? There are men who will go ahead and let some of that gray hair come out and they don't care what anybody has to say. In fact, who's saying anything about it? Nobody's complaining about your pot belly. If a woman is with a man who has a pot belly, there's a good possibility she's not really saying anything. She's accepting him for who he is. If he's gotten heavy, she's accepting him for who he is. If he has wrinkles in his face, she's accepting him for who he is. The point that I'm making here is that women more than likely are going to accept men for who they are. They're going to accept men as they age. If a man is ugly, they still manage to get a woman. They're not going to have an issue with what they look like because nobody is pressuring them to look a particular way. If you came out not looking that attractive, you had all your life to adjust to the fact that you're not attractive. You've accepted it, and It is what it is. I remember hearing a man say, I don't have time to get in the gym and pump it up and work out and get buffed. If a woman is going to deal with me, she's just going to accept me for who I am. Because once I lose that, if that's all that she wanted, then she's going to be gone anyhow. I don't have time for it. So I'm not interested in anybody who can't accept me for who I am. I'm not even gonna waste my time. I'm not trying to change who I am, but I'm just not gonna deal with anybody who is trying to change who I am. And that was the attitude, and that's the attitude of most men, but that's not the attitude of a lot of women. If a man says, well, I don't like your figure, you're trying to bust your butt trying to change it. If you feel that a man is not going to like you because you're too heavy, you're gonna try to lose weight. Oh, he doesn't like my belly, I gotta really work out, or I'm gonna suffer from self-esteem issues. Oh, my butt is not looking right for this man over here that I know likes these big butts, so let me go and fill it up with silicone so that he'll like me. Let me have bigger boobs because I think that a man is going to like that. Men are not doing that for women. You're gonna have to like them where they are. Otherwise, they're not dealing with you. And that's what needs to change with women. Women need to accept themselves for who they are. And if a man can't deal with it, then kick rocks. Dr. Umar says that women need to change their thinking, and I definitely agree with that. We definitely need to change our thinking.
Why are you competing with them young girls? Why can't you be happy that you moving into pre-elderhood?
But let me tell you why. Men and women alike rip other women apart. We're not allowed to have wrinkles. We're not allowed to have gray hair. We're not allowed to have pot bellies. We're not allowed to be heavy. We're not allowed to have pains and aches. We're not allowed to do any of that. Otherwise, we get men talking garbage, pointing out that we're not young enough, pointing out that the younger woman looks better than the older woman. We get men who are pointing out the differences between older and younger women. I do feel that society and men in particular are the ones who are fueling this fire when it comes to women being afraid of aging gracefully. So to answer this question about what's wrong with pre-elderhood, I'm gonna just speak for me. I've hit the 50s and it's scary. When you get to a certain age and you start to see a lot of people in their 40s and their 50s not making it, they're passing on. This is a critical stage and it's scary. And you think, gee, 20 more years. If I'm 50, I only have 20 more years on this earth if I only live up to 70. That's not a lot of time. So that's scary. But in addition to that, especially if you are one of those women who have enjoyed being attractive, or people have told you that you were attractive the majority of your life, when you hit those 40s, that's a whole new era, it's a whole new ball game, and it takes a lot of getting adjusted to, okay? The reason why you have some people who accept who they are is because they've been that way all their life. There are some people who have not been attractive all their life. So they've had plenty of time to get used to it. There are people who have been heavy all their life. They have learned to deal with who they are. They've accepted it, okay? But when you get to a certain age and all of a sudden now, wow, I used to be thin all my life and now I'm not. I used to have a flat washboard stomach. I don't have that anymore. I didn't have problems with gray hair. I didn't have problems with love handles. As you get older, it's more difficult to adjust to it. You know the end result. You're watching yourself get older year after year. You want to try and hold on to whatever beauty and whatever youth you possibly have. So it's really not a matter of competing with younger people. It's a matter of watching yourself change. And people don't like change. Change is scary. Change is hard.
In African culture, we value age. The older you get, the more respect. The older you get, the wiser you are. The older you get, the more honor is bestowed upon you.
You want to bring Africans into this conversation. So you're saying that in the African community, they regard older women as wiser, they respect older women, and older women have honor. Now, in my wildest imagination, I can imagine that in the African community that is the case, but since I'm not part of the African community, I'm African American, and I do believe that there is a difference. I have not felt the respect. I have not felt the honor that you talk about, which leads me to another YouTuber who did a video about Rick Ross and one of his ex-companions who has his child or his children. And in this video, he goes on to talk about how Rick Ross has upgraded. Now that he has this younger woman, and he showed a picture of Rick Ross with the younger woman. He has his hand on her butt. Okay, then he goes on to compare the younger woman to Rick Ross's ex-girlfriend or wife or whatever she was. I don't know. This guy seemed to think that this younger woman was a prize, and this younger woman was better than Tia Kemp because she was younger. And I'm going to give it to her. She was attractive. She was physically fit. She works out. And she looked good. Okay, but let's think about why Rick Ross has her on his arm, or better yet, in front of him with his hand on her butt. It's because she's a trophy. She's more than likely not even human to him. She is nothing more than to serve as a reminder to other people that, hey, even though I'm my age, I can still get a younger girl. Young women like me. Well, guess what, Rick Ross? Young women like your money. Young women like your lifestyle. Young women like what you could possibly do for them to uplift them and put them in the spotlight. It's not you. And for this YouTuber to put a picture of Rick Ross's baby's mother alongside the younger 20-something-year-old lets me see that, once again, men are the one who are doing the comparing to younger women. So if you wanted to compare the two, why didn't he get a picture of Tia Kemp when she was younger and compare that to the 20-something-year-old? That's more of an appropriate comparison. You don't compare a woman who's now probably in her 40s to somebody in their 20s and say, oh, this guy came up. He had the ex when she was in her 20s. And to tell you the truth, let me tell you what those two pictures really showed me. It was a before and after, as far as I'm concerned. This is what you look like before, or when you meet a Rick Ross. And this is what you're going to look like and act like after Rick Ross has finished with you. So this brings me to, how do we age gracefully? I think in trying to figure out how we age gracefully, we have to look at the definition of aging gracefully. So I went to Google to find a definition, and there wasn't really anything concrete that I was able to find. In fact, it looks like people can define aging gracefully in different ways. And some of the ways that I found, let me read here, is staying physically healthy, maintaining strong relationships, keeping a sharp mind. And this one in particular I really did like, was showing signs of aging, but still moving forward with life. So after doing this video and putting it with things that I already know, this is what I've come up with when it comes to aging gracefully. If you want to age gracefully, you've got to, number one, accept the aging process. Number two, accept yourself for who you are. 3, make sure that you eat healthy, stay active, find ways to reduce stress, and get rest. So I'm gonna end this video, but please, in the comment section, let me know what is your definition of aging gracefully and how do you go about aging gracefully. If you have not had a chance to subscribe and you enjoy this content, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.